California politicians know that you want better water supply and protection from wildland fires. They're going to try to trick you into borrowing billions of dollars, thinking that the money will go to water and fire projects, when in fact, it's just a bunch of bonds for boondoggles. Coming up, I'll tell you about why you should vote no on Proposition 4 in the California November 2024 election. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and there is no doubt we face a massive water shortage in the state of California, and we have a variety of wildland fire problems, and people are worried about that, rightfully so. Water and wildland fire protection, top issues of concern for Californians. The politicians know that, and so they're playing on those concerns to try to get taxpayers to vote to give them a credit card, to borrow a bunch of money at taxpayers' expense with high interest rates, and to give all that money to politicians. And the politicians are promising in this election that they are going to fix water and wildland fire problems. Do you believe them? You shouldn't. These are the same people who actually have caused the problem. We've talked about water policy on this podcast very, very recently with in-depth shows on why the water crisis in California is man-made. It's not climate change driven. It is man-made. They've cut off the water supply. There's more than enough water for us to meet our needs. It's just that the politicians, egged on by the radical environmentalists, have diverted our water supply to the ocean. They don't want to give it to farmers. They don't want to give it to communities. It's all being wasted by mandatory water flushes into the ocean. They say it's to protect fishies, but we're not seeing any environmental protection. And on wildland fire, the environmentalists told the liberal politicians in California 2 decades ago, stop letting people thin forests, stop letting timber companies harvest forests. And as a result, the wildland acreage has built up all this fuel in the form of trees and brush. And now it's going to allow for, leads to catastrophic fires. These are issues that can be changed without borrowing money. These are issues that are a failure of policy. It is a almost religious zealotry that the left has on their environmental ideas that have caused these crises. And we are seeing no changes in the drivers of water shortage and wildland fire risk. What we are seeing are the politicians using those two concerns with Proposition 4 to get you to convince you, to con you into giving them borrowing authority for $10 billion in bonds. And so we're going to talk about the 3 reasons to vote no on Proposition 4 in this election. We are running the campaign at Reform California on 2 of the big bonds on your November ballot. Proposition 2 is the school and education bond. We cover that in a different podcast. We urge you to vote no on Proposition 2, and you can watch that podcast. We also have Proposition 4 that we're talking about in this show, which is they call the water and wildland fire bond, but it has virtually nothing to do with solving those issues. So let's talk about the 3 reasons why the bond is bad. In just a minute, let me just give you the overview of it. Here's Proposition 4. The title is Safe Drinking Water, Wildfire Prevention, Drought Preparedness, and Clean Air. How about you talk about puppies and kittens in that title too? You're not going to see any improvements in safe drinking water, wildland fire protection, drought preparedness, or clean air under Proposition 4. You won't. And I've got the receipts to prove that. Here's the actual text of the bill. It is right here, $10 billion. And it's so funny because they say, well, in 2018, we issued $4.1 billion in bonds to finance drought, water, parks, climate, coastal protection, outdoor access for all program. Where's that money coming from? and it comes from you, the taxpayers. But what have you gotten from it? Have you gotten a report card? Of course not. And that leads us to the first reason why you should vote no on Prop 4. They have spent billions of dollars in your name, and yet they have nothing to show for it. I mean, look at the homelessness funds that they just spent. $24 billion since 2018, and the problem has only gotten worse. And the boondoggle projects they financed with that $24 billion, $800,000 to $1 million per unit for affordable housing. Insane. This is nothing but grift and corruption for the powerful campaign donors of politicians. That's who's getting your bond money. Just like the high-speed rail train to nowhere, that's what these bonds are all about. So they want another $10 billion, even though they haven't accounted for that $4.1 billion that you were duped into approving back in 2018. So the first reason why is we don't have the money to borrow an additional $10 billion. Here's Bloomberg. California lawmakers eye more than $100 billion of borrowing. They went with $26 billion this year, which was actually the max out on the credit card. Understand, they already approved $6.4 billion of bonds for homelessness in the March primary with Prop 1. The $20 billion, 10 and 10, 10 for the school bond Prop 2, and 10 for Prop 4, the climate, water, clean air. That maxes out the credit card. There is no more bond capacity for California if we max out the credit card by approving Props 2 and 4. The debt service ratio already, prior to these bonds, was going to spike from 2.8 to 3.2%. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but when we're talking about a state government that can't print money like the federal government, we have to balance our books each year. And you know darn well that the state's budget's not balanced. The reason why they're doing these bonds is that they're embedding a lot of overhead costs and staff costs to fill the budget deficit with the borrowing. Again, this is a scam. There's no oversight on these bonds. We are now going to max out the credit card. Our debt capacity is already spiking, and it's being used as a Band-Aid for the state budget deficit. So for the financial reasons, vote no on Proposition 4. The second reason is you're not going to get water storage, water infrastructure improvement, or much of wildland fire improvement here. Here's how the $10 billion is allocated. Only $3.8 billion goes to water, but even that's not true. Because when you look at the fine print, not a penny of that will go to reservoir enhancement, which is the big issue that we have. We have to increase the capacity of our water storage so that when it does rain, we can store the water for the years where we naturally have a drought. So when you think you're going to get water security, water abilities, of the $3.8 billion, not a penny goes to reservoir improvements in terms of enhanced capacity. Oh, a bunch of money goes to all sorts of other dog and cat pet projects. And it all is, feel-good projects for these water systems, with a whole bunch of it being climate change. And that is embedded throughout. Almost every element of this bond is all about the far left's fantasy of let's get climate change projects going. Insane. Of the $10 billion, only $1.5 billion goes to wildland fire projects. And again, most of that is climate change and biodiversity. We're not doing a whole lot of habitat fire reduction under this bond. $1.2 billion is given to coastal resilience. You know what that means? They needed all those liberal coastal areas to get their fair share of the wasteful spending here. The coastal projects, again, driven by the climate change philosophy. $450 million goes to heat programs. In other words, let's provide air conditioning. $700 million goes to park access. And $850 million, they say, goes to clean air, but not. I mean, if you want clean air, give the farmers the water back in Central Valley so that they can actually manage their farmland and not let it go fallow. The number one cause of air quality problems in Central Valley is that we've choked off water supply from those farmers. Again, none of the things in this bond that they say will be improved are actually funded. And the funding will go to projects that make people feel good with no real impact. That's the third reason why you should vote down this bond. In giving out a lot of the money, the state politicians have adopted diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI criteria for who gets the money. Again, not based on a strategic approach to where will the funds have the biggest bang for the buck, based on a woke, broke, political approach. Look, we have to send a message loud and clear to state politicians. No more borrowing. No more boondoggles. We're tearing up the credit card. Fix your financial mess and show us results with the existing money we gave you. And if you want to come to us and talk about water supply or wildland fire risk reduction, then change your stupid policies that led to the problem in the first place. Otherwise, we're throwing good money after bad. And if you want to have money for infrastructure, cancel your damn high-speed rail train to nowhere. At Reform California, we believe the best way to send that message, vote no on Proposition 4 and its twisted sister, Proposition 2. We need your help to run the campaign to warn voters that Proposition 4 is a boondoggle. The no on Prop 2 and 4 campaign, we've integrated it together so that we can get the biggest bang for our buck. Because we're a grassroots campaign, we have to rely on small dollar contributors like you. So please chip in a contribution at our website at reformcalifornia.org. Here is the site, reformcalifornia.org. Smash that contribute button, chip in whatever you can. Also, the best weapon we have in fighting not only Proposition 2 and 4, but all of the bad ballot measures on the ballot in November and helping our candidates is to get our plain English voter guide distributed to every California we can reach. That's why I need you to sign up to get the voter guide so you can share it with your friends and family. So if you're not already on our email and text list, please get on there. Sign up at reformcalifornia.org, the bottom of the page, first name, last name, email, phone, zip code, and subscribe. It is free. We will send you the Plain English Voter Guide the first week of October, right before your ballot hits. So then you can use it to vote and you can share it. Again, plain English. We translate the deceptive titles and summaries that the politicians have put on the ballot so you understand what you're actually voting on. Help us out. Join the fight at reformcalifornia.org. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.